Hello and welcome to another edition at Yorkshire Chef. This time I thought I'd try something different. Florentine Slice. It's a chocolate based recipe using dried mixed fruit. Anyway, for our ingredients we need 100 grams of desiccated coconut, 100 grams of extra fine sugar and 150 grams of chocolate, and we've got some cherries. 20 grams of cherries and 20 grams of butter, or 1 egg, and some dried fruit and some of these things. What we've got to do with this is line in a baking tin with foil, and I'm going to put chocolate into this when it's melted. So if you just get a decent lining of foil with your baking tin, that should do it. And we can pour chocolate in that. And the first thing we've got to do is melt chocolate in the pan. Please break your chocolate up and so it just covers the bottom of the pan nicely. And it might take a while to melt because there's quite a bit here. And there's 150 grams of chocolate in there, so that should line the bottom of that nicely. Chocolate's melting in the pan nicely, and what you've got to do is you've got to stir it round when it's melting, and it only takes about 5 minutes for it all to melt. And before you start, what you want to do is put some butter in. Put some butter on the bottom of the pan. Just get it all nicely melted there. And continue stirring it round. By the way, this is cooking chocolate. I think that's just about melted enough to pour into the pan. Got a sort of gooey consistency. And you need to be fairly quick with this. So if you put your pan on hob and just pour it in. And spread it round before it hardens. I'm really struggling holding camera with this. Just spread it around before it hardens. And what you need to do is you need to leave this in the fridge. I'm going to put it in the freezer. Preferably you need to put it in the freezer until it hardens, which will take a couple of hours. Then you can get on to the next part of your recipe. And take that off the hob and let it cool down before you put it in the fridge, because it could damage your fridge if you put it in red hot. What I'll do before it cools down, I forgot to mention this, is to put some of these hundreds and thousands type things in, and you just sprinkle them over the top. As you can see, it's bubbling away on hob, so it's nice and level and it's bubbling away on hob. So if you just sprinkle some of these hundreds of thousands type things in, I don't know if you can see that clearly on camera, but it's bubbling away nicely. Then what you want to do is drag it away from hob and leave that to cool before you put it in the fridge, otherwise you could damage your freezer casing. Okay, it's been in fridge for about an hour and it's rock hard, as you can see. It's got sort of like hundreds and thousands bedded into it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix all dry ingredients together, and this is a nice set of scales. I found them in a charity shop for £5. Try and get camera sorted, yeah. The trouble with working in a small kitchen, not enough room for everything. Right, 100 grams of sugar, and it's fine caster sugar is this. You want finest possible you can get for this recipe. So 100 grams of that. It's a recipe I took from a book, but unfortunately gives all measurements in cups and sticks. They don't give precise measurements in books, so I've done it proportionate to what I'm putting it in. So 100 grams of mixed fruit. 100 grams of mixed fruit, or as much as you want. It's only going in this small tin anyway. It's a serving for one. That should be enough. And 20 grams of butter. $20 grams of butter. These scales would normally cost about 16 quid if you bought them in shops, but if you get them second hand in a charity shop you pay about £5 for them. You could pay a bit more, about a tenner on eBay, but then you encounter postage, and that's a pain in the ass paying for that. Right, just bung that in. You also want, recipe calls for 2 eggs, but I'm only using 1. Crack in an egg. And get rid of scaling. To do is mix it all round until butter dissolves in. Yeah, it's quite a diversion from what I normally do, because there's no flour involved, and that's a good thing about this recipe. And also, if you want to jazz it up a bit, we'll open 3 this time. You add a few of these sprinkly hundreds and thousands type bits just to jazz it up. Recipe only serves 1, but you can sort of double or treble ingredients and make it for as many as you want. But it's a fairly sweet dish, so you don't want too much of it. I also like to add a bit more fruit. Can do that. Whiz it all round in pan, in mixing bowl. Quite good stuff is this extra fine sugar. It's really sweet though. It's turning out to be a bit sweeter than I anticipated. Next job is to get it out of bowl, spoon it into thingy it's in, and you bake it on gas mark 4 for about 25 to 30 minutes. Spread it all around. Once again, to make it more appealing, we're going with sprinkler bits. Then you put that in the oven for about 25 to 30 minutes. Well, it's been in the oven for about an hour or 40 minutes. I left it in longer than I anticipated. And next thing you got to do is put it in the fridge to cool down. There's still a bit of surplus water in it, so drain all surplus liquid off if you can. Then you leave it in the fridge to cool down for a couple of hours. Just bung it in the freezer, cool down for a couple of hours. Well, it's been in the fridge for about an hour or so. Now it's frozen solid. Now I've got to try and get it out. Absolutely frozen solid. Once it's properly thawed out, what you do is you chop it into segments, and you can either warm it up in microwave or eat it cold. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching.